Floods. Introduction. In August of 2005, much of the city of New Orleans, Louisiana, was flooded. Hurricane Katrina sent millions of gallons of water flowing over the protected levees. The flooding caused billions of dollars in damage and cost almost 2,000 people their lives. Years later, the effects of the flood can still be seen throughout the city. The flooding in New Orleans was devastating and extreme, but floods happen around the world every day, usually with much less impact. In fact, many areas rely on regular flooding to add nutrients to soil. These nutrients support the growth of crops as well as forests and other natural habitats. Overbank floodings. The most common type of flooding is overbank flooding. In the United States alone, hundreds of these floods occur every year. Overbank flooding happens then when water from heavy rain or melting ice and snow fills a river channel beyond its capacity. This extra water flows over the bank and into the floodplain, which is the area that the water covers. Lingering lakes. Increased runoff can cause the amount of water in lake to build up. Most lakes have ways of draining the water, but some lakes do not. When these lakes overflow their banks, the water has nowhere to go. The flooding can last for years or even decades. Sand-led sandbags. To protect buildings from flooding, people stacked bags and sand on top of each other. In 2012, Payne Robertson, a 10-year-old boy, saw the destruction caused by a hurricane. He invented a new kind of sandbag by filling canvas bags with salt and a special substance that expands when it gets wet. The bags are lighter and make a better seal against water than regular sandbags. His new sandless bags worked so well that he won the 2013 Discovery Education 3M Young Scientist Challenge. In in areas with wide flat floodplains, the water may spread slowly and remain for days or weeks. In areas with deep, narrow floodplains, the water moves quickly and floods for only a short time. Many rivers have small floods every year and larger floods every 5 or so years. Occasionally, heavy precipitation can cause severe flooding along rivers. These events are often referred to as 100 years flood. For major rivers with large floodplains, experts are usually able to accurately predict the timing and amount of flooding. For other rivers, those with small, narrow floodplains, the speed and intensity of the moving water can make flood prediction difficult. Flash floods. Sometimes floodwater moves so quickly and unrecoverably that it becomes a flash flood. This type of flood is defined by a rapid increase in the speed and height of water. This fast-moving water can cause extensive damage. People often do not have time to protect themselves and their property. Most of the damage is caused by the movement of the water. For example, water moved at 10 miles per hour has the same force as 270 miles per hour wind. To compare, hurricane force winds began at 74 miles per hour, 119.1 kilometers. During one flash flood in Colorado, water flowing at 30 miles per hour moved boulders weighing more than 250 tons. Sage. Floods can have cause other than annual precipitation overflowing riverbanks. Sometimes earthquakes or powerful winds and storms cause flooding near lakes by producing a surge. If you have ever sloshed water back and forth in a cup, you've seen a surge. The winds of an earthquake cause large amounts of water to shift from one side of a lake to the other. When the water shifts back, it can overflow the banks and flood surrounding areas. Some surge can cause waves 12 to 16 feet, 3.6 to 4.9 meter high. Storm surge. A similar type of event can happen on a much larger scale in the ocean. The powerful wind of some storms, such as hurricanes and cyclones, can push water in front of them. When the water nears the shore, the ground pushes the water upward in what is called a storm surge rather than sloshing back out to the ocean. However, the water continues forward over the shore and onto the land beyond, causing a flood. The damage from storm surge, which can be anywhere from 4 to 25 feet, 1.2 to 7.6 meters high, can be considerable. Water can continue to flood onto the land for up to 8 hours. Entire coastlines can be washed away in less than a day. Mega flood. The flood of the power of flood to shape and change the landscape is undeniable. In fact, massive floods called megafloods may have changed the entire continent long ago. Evidence suggests that about 15,000 years ago in North America, an ice dam broke in what is now Montana. That collapse released water from a huge lake. The megaflood spread over the Pacific Northwest and completely changed the landscape in some areas. Scientists have found evidence of another megaflood that took place more than 7,000 years ago. Water from melted glacier caused the level of Mediterranean Sea to rise. The water flowed into the area between Europe and Asia, creating the Black Sea. The good in floods. While floods can be incredibly destructive, they are an essential part of many natural ecosystems. For example, many ecosystems along rivers or in existing floodplains need floods to survive. Water in river carries sediment, which is full of nutrients. When the river floods and the water recedes, is leaving the sediment behind. The nutrient-nourished plants will provide food to animals. The water may also be a signal for some animals to stop producing young. Salt marshes along some coasts flood every day with the ocean tide. They are home to many plants as well as fish, birds, insects, and other animals. These living things rely on a regular flooding to bring in fresh water and food from the ocean. Marshes along with swamp and other types of wetland also help decrease the severity of floods. They are able to hold large amounts of water and can drain effectively when they become too full. Excess water will flow into this area instead of to place where it may cause more damage. Nature engineers. Beaver are known for building dams on streams, rivers, and ponds as well as in lakes. They make their dam out of logs and branches and glue them together with mud and wet plants. Some beaver dams are longer than 1,000 feet, 300 meters. These dams back up the flow of water from the stream, causing ponds to form. The dam reduces flooding in these areas is holding back the water that runs into streams during heavy rains. The excess water is then released a little at a time instead of all at once. People and floods. Nature has found many ways to handle floods, however, it can sometimes be difficult for people. Modern construction covered up to or destroy many of natural systems for handling floods with nothing to absorb or stop the water. It flows on the top of the ground, causing much more damage. As a result, people have created multiple lines of defense from floods. The most obvious are the gutter, drain, and sewer that take water from the street and quickly move it away. This urban drainage system is effective most of the time. However, it causes some problems. The increased amount of water draining into rivers and streams can actually cause flooding in other areas. Urban drainage can only handle so much water. People have created other systems to protect themselves from floods. They have built levees, dikes, and dams to hold back large amounts of water. Many dams have gates that allow people to control the flow of water through the dam. These structures help, but they can also cause problems. The blocked water built up behind them, causing a change in the surrounding ecosystem. They also disrupt flood patterns and ecosystem downstream. Some systems for protecting people from floods are massive in scale. For hundreds of years, the people of the Netherlands suffered constant flooding. In 1927, they began building the North Sea Protection Works. This complex system of structure took almost 25 years to build. Conclusion. Although we have created many ways to warn and protect ourselves, floods still occur. Every year's flood costs billions of dollars in property damage and take thousands of people's lives. However, they are necessary to the health of many different including people. As we learn more about floods, we may be able to discover a balance between our needs and the destructive and helpful properties of this natural process.